Good evening and welcome to our regular joint meeting of the City Council of the City of Moreno Valley. The City Council receives a separate stipend from the Community Services District if any CSD business is conducted at this meeting. I now call this meeting to order on March 18th, 2025 at 6:01 p.m. We will go ahead and move into the Pledge of Allegiance. Would anyone like to lead us in the pledge today? Will be led in the pledge by Councilmember Delgado, and please remain standing after the pledge for the invocation given today by Stake President Thomas M. Owada from the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints.
Please join me and put your right hand over your heart. Ready, begin.
Good evening, welcome.
Thank you. Our Father in heaven, we are grateful for this wonderful opportunity that we have. We come together as a meeting for this Moreno Valley City Council. We thank Thee, Father, for the moisture that's fallen on the land and the blessing that Thou continue to bless the people of Moreno Valley. We ask Thee for Thy divine guidance and the wisdom upon the Mayor, Ulysses Cabrera. We ask Thee, Father, to bless those that work with him, Mayor Pro Tem Elena Besanda Cruz. We ask a blessing upon City Council Member Ed Delgado, City Council Member Arian Gonzalez, City Council Member Charlinda Bernard. And Father, we ask a special blessing upon the city mayor, city manager, Mr. Brian Mohan. We ask Thee, Father, to continue to bless the police chief and those that work with her, and the fire chief and those that work with him. For these blessings we ask Thee in Thy favor upon Moreno Valley and the people of this city, in the name of Jesus Christ. Amen.
Thank you very much for the invocation and for joining us this evening. That brings us next to roll call. Madam Clerk, I'll turn it over to you.
Thank you, Mayor. Councilmember Bernard,
Here.
Councilmember Gonzalez,
Here.
Councilmember Delgado,
Here, ma'am.
Mayor Pro Tem Bacasana Cruz is absent. Mayor Cabrera,
Present.
thank you.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. And we'll move on to item E. I don't see any requests for excused absences, so we will move to item F, staff introductions, please.
Patty Rodriguez, City Clerk.
Paul Bradvica, Deputy City Clerk.
Sonia Gomez, Management Assistant.
Stephen Quintanilla, City Attorney. Brian Mohan, City Manager.
Lana Jimenez, Assistant City Manager over Administration, City Treasurer.
Dina Heel, Chief Financial Officer.
Sean Kelleher, Assistant City Manager Development.
Angelica Frausto-Lupo, Community Development Director.
Melissa Walker, Director of Public Works.
Jeremy Bubnick, Director of Parks and Community Services.
Robert Cardenas, Human Resources Director.
Keith Gemmell, Acting Economic Development and Housing Director.
Sarah Mack, Chief of Police.
And Jesse Park, Fire Chief.
Thank you very much, team. It's always a pleasure to be in the chamber to conduct the people's business. That brings us next to item G, which is approval of order of the agenda. And I'll look to my colleagues to see if there are any requests. If not, I'm looking for a motion and a second.
So moved.
Second.
There's a motion and a second. Madam Clerk, please call for the vote.
Thank you. Councilmember Bernard,
Yes.
Councilmember Gonzalez,
Yes.
Councilmember Delgado,
Yes.
and Mayor Cabrera.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you. Next is item H, which is public comments on matters not on the agenda. The city now offers language translation services through a free app called Wordly. The app automatically translates a variety of languages into English and vice versa. To use this service, please scan the QR code at the speaker's sign-up table by the entrance doors. For the visually impaired, please use your earphones or earbuds to listen to the verbal translation. If you do not have any listening devices, please let the city clerk know, and we will gladly let you borrow some for this meeting. La ciudad actualmente ofrece servicios de traducción de idiomas a través de una aplicación gratuita llamada Wordly. Si gustan usar este servicio, por favor nos avisan y entregue su tarjeta para hablar. Para usar la traducción, escanee el código QR que está en la mesa junto a las puertas. Before we move on to public comments, I would like to remind everyone to direct their comments to the City Council. For comments on items that are on tonight's agenda, each speaker will have a total of 3 minutes to comment. Madam Clerk, do we have any requests to comment on non-agenda items?
We do, Mayor. The first three speakers are Fred Manuelos, followed by Christopher Baca, followed by Valerie Ludemans.
Good evening.
Hello. Hello, everyone. First of all, I'd like to thank the deputies that respond to my non-emergency calls at Lakeside Plaza. I appreciate when they can help out with the situation there. The other thing that I'd like to talk about is that my wife and I took our granddaughter to the adaptive egg hunt. It was a great event. I can't wait for the next one. We got in and out there. We just did our thing, and it was short and sweet, and I like that. They also had a sensory room. So if it got a little loud for her, we were able to go in that sensory room. But I love that event that we just... Excuse me. I love that event. The next thing I'd like to talk about is the sandbag training. So I was out of town, but my wife was able to attend, and she learned some great things. She told me some things about it. Things that she told me were to mitigate flooding, communicate with neighbors to have a plan, observe the water flows on rainy days, and note if there's any change of water patterns, like, for example, if your backyard never gets puddles, but now it does. It could be that your neighbor did something to divert the water onto your property, so you want to make sure that doesn't happen, and make sure you clean the debris and keep things out of drains. So that was a good class for her to attend. We got our sandbags, and it worked out great because right after that, it rained really hard. The other thing I like is one night I saw some city trucks, and I'm like nosy Rosie. I wanted to see what's going on, and they were like cleaning the sewers, it looks like, but they're actually cleaning the catch basins. So they were making sure that there was nothing in there, so when it did rain, it would clean that area out down where I live. So I appreciate that. Our city was prepared, and I appreciate that. And kind of lost my train of thought, what was going on, but yeah, I can't wait for that adaptive egg hunt. We have some new other events coming up. What is it? The adult flashlight thing. I'm gonna try to go check that out. But I appreciate what everybody does in this room. Thank you guys, and have a safe night.
The next three speakers are Adolph Kruger, followed by Valerie Gludemans, followed by Christopher Baca.
Hello, my name is Adolph Kruger. I've lived in this city for 53 years. And I'll tell you exactly what the city is. They're a bunch of monsters. City council, police, everybody. I've lived here for 53 years. They've put me through 5 criminal trials. I'm innocent, and yet they've done it. Just late last year, I was assaulted trying to trim my hedges. And 2 policemen came and did nothing. Okay? This is how evil this city is. I don't know, a lot of you might not like it, but that's the way it is, okay? You don't want the truth? Well, then you better change your ways. And all you're doing, okay? You're doing the same thing that, just like the people that control you do the same thing. They're monsters. and I know what I'm talking about. Okay? I was born right at the start of World War II. I'm 85 years, 70% handicapped, and yet I get attacked and beaten up, and nothing is done. And yet, put me through 5 criminal trials, 5 of them. I've never done anything wrong. And it's not just, okay, people here, the first one, because 2 Air Force colonels perjured themselves, and I did nothing, okay? And I got, convicted. Well, they finally talked me into a lesser charge. And I shouldn't have listened to that, but that's how it is. All the rest of them are just innocent. And the last one, I couldn't even say a word in my defense. Now, this is how evil this city, the county, Riverside County is the same thing. DA, even there's perjury, even in the public defender, which represented me in all 5 of those. Okay, the corruption is evil. It's everywhere here. You might not believe me. Hey, I was born in World War II. I spent over 5 years in the Russian communist concentration camp. And what the Jews claimed, the Holocaust, that never happened to them. That's what did to Germany. And what this country did to Germany, England did to Germany, and the Catholic Church did to Germany. All of you committed genocide against Germany. Now, this country is helping the Jews keep committing genocide in Gaza, Syria, and all the Middle East countries. And they're getting away with
Thank you, sir. The 3 minutes has expired. Thank you.
The next 3 speakers are Valerie Glutamins, followed by Christopher Baca.
Hello, City Council. My name is Valerie Glutamins, and I'm just here to introduce myself as a member of Moreno Valley since 2011, my first City Council meeting, so this is what brought me here. My daughter is high-functioning autistic, and she has recently figured out that she loves barrel racing. So she has joined what is known as Hemet Valley Gymkhana Club. And of course, I'm a proud mama that not only did she join barrel racing last year, but she qualified to go to state, which is up in Santa Cruz. So what I'm here for is that we are working on our paperwork to get approved to use the Moreno Valley Equestrian Center here in Moreno Valley. We are working on that paperwork. We meet about once a month, and I just think it would be a great addition to our city to allow this to happen. So there's not really a vote or anything, but I just wanted to show you all my face and kind of meet you and you meet me. So I just also wanted to emphasize that I've been in contact with Ed Delgado, and he stated that we need a business license, so something just to come up in conversation or further as we're working on our paperwork to get approved to use the Equestrian Center is that we are not a business, because I noticed on the paperwork that we need a business license, and we're actually a club, which would be considered kind of like a Boy Scouts club. So we're working under CSHA, which is California State Horsemen's Association. So we're not bringing in business, or we're not producing business as we work as a nonprofit club for the kids to come and ride. And we usually have about 30 to 40 riders, again, once a month. And the Equestrian Center has been absolutely fantastic to work with up to this point. So I'm just here to present myself and to put a word in your guys' ear, and maybe we can further discuss the business license or what's needed as far as that goes. So I just wanted to come out and promote our Hemet Valley Gymkhana Club. And like I said, we live here, so she rides, and it's just a wonderful thing that does wonderful things for a lot of people. So thank you very much. That's all I got.
Thank you, and welcome to your first City Council meeting.
Thank you.
The next speaker is Christopher Baca.
Good afternoon, council, community, and staff. I just got a couple questions. First of all, I just wanted to talk about District 5 and how great and awesome some of the areas have turned out in the last 20 years, I would say, particularly what used to be the festival. You know, it was nothing but a rat-infested, homeless encampment, and you look at it today, and you got like awesome stuff in there. You're talking about floor and design is pretty cool, and what is that, Sprouts, or is it Whole Foods? No, it's Sprouts and Starbucks and all the other stuff that are coming in. That place was a derelict, eyesore. I want to commend the police department for that corner where Hemlock and Heacock is. That used to be like a congregation of drug dealers for decades, and it's finally been cleaned up, and we really appreciate that in our community. But we also appreciate, something that'll make the community look a lot better rather than just old, tired, vacant lots. You got a lot of them on Paris, and you got a few on Alessandro and Sunnymead. That stuff needs to be cleared up, and it would really make our community a lot better. On another note, back in the day, we had community policing. And I think in this era that we may see cuts in seniors, that we should consider something like that back, where we can have volunteers that are, I would probably qualify to be community police officers. If you notice, a lot of the shopping centers, particularly the handicapped areas, people aren't respecting that anymore. You see people, elderly people, injured people having to park way far when you got these kids that they just park wherever they want. That needs to be enforced, and I think the community police would help enforce that. It would alleviate a lot of the stuff that the police department needs to be. Am I off? Anyhow, that was my 2 points. Thank you very much.
Our next speaker is Julie Pedroza.
Good evening. Julie Perdosa, Building Up Lives Foundation. I'm founder and executive director. I talk a lot about homeless and those that are in need in our city, but a lot of people don't realize we also help the working poor, middle class, upper class, and we've had a few people that's pretty wealthy that walked in and needing help. So I don't talk a whole lot about this because a lot of people don't want to hear about trauma and problems in that area. But we have a core team of 5 men and 3 women that deal with high trauma. This is a loss of a loved one, whether it be a child or an adult. We have women and men that deal with abuse, whether it be adult abuse, elder abuse, child abuse, or sexual abuse. We have a team that comes together. What's beautiful and unique about us is we're all volunteers. This is from our heart, and this is from experience that we've gone through. The loss of loved ones. My husband is one that counsels men, especially. He was CHP, and he had literally held the hands of at least 50 people that lost their lives. And so he does help people that lost loved ones. He also lost his son after 200 surgeries, almost 200 surgeries, and his wife to cancer, his first wife. And so he has the experience. And the problem with sometimes people need is to be able to vent and get through it. And that's 2 to 5 hours sitting with someone. And it's pretty amazing. I get to see it all the time when he sits down with someone and you see them just beaten by how life is. And after about 2 to 3 hours, their head's up, their life has changed. We get people that come in with community service. They did a mistake. They're coming in from the courts. We got one guy right now going through the academy, the police academy. And he thought his life was done. It wasn't done. He just had to get direction of how do you correct this? How do you do right? And can you apply? And he's there now. So we see the beauty of it. And we're here if you need any help. 951-550-5466, buildinguplivesfoundation@gmail.com. We're here to help if you need assistance in things that people just don't want to talk about. Give us a call. Thank you.
The next speaker is Roy Blackard.
Was interesting in the drive over here. The first speaker, you should hire Fred as your new PR person, of how everything was great and wonderful, to the second speaker is you're all a bunch of evil monsters. Goes to show the dichotomy of this fine city and all the things that go along with it. I've said many times, I think this place must be on an Indian burial ground or something, because this land has got to be cursed. Because it doesn't seem to be, whatever we try to do, however we try to make it, we take a quarter step forward and we take 96 steps back. One thing, though, I've said, and I got it from the late, great comedian George Carlin. He said, the people you elect, the people you hired to run your governments, they didn't come from Mars. They didn't come from out of the ocean. They're your community. You're a reflection of this community. The good, the bad, or the ugly, however you want to see it. And the only way that changes is if we change. Plain and simple. You can see the disasters or successes go, and you can take about the great things or this, but it's all about people. So I want everyone to think about that, because that's the basis we have if we're going to be a successful community. Of how, if you want a successful community, let's start putting the pieces in place to make it there. Let's not just say, it's only my area. If you're requested to help out in some other area where you can put some influence in to raise this whole community, please do it. Not only will your life be better, but everybody's life will be. That's why I say the dichotomy of the two first speakers. That sums it up. Which direction do you want to go? And that direction is going to be determined by every one of us.
Mayor, that concludes all of public comments not on tonight's agenda.
Thank you very much, Madam Clerk, and thank you to all of our public speakers as well. That brings us to item I, which is the joint consent calendars. Before I open the consent calendar for public comment, I'm going to bring it back to the dais and ask my fellow colleagues if there's any items that they wish to remove from the consent calendar for separate action. I don't see any requests from the dais. So at this time, we will go ahead and move into public comment. Madam Clerk, do we have any requests to speak on the consent calendar?
Thank you, Mayor. We do. The first two speakers are Christopher Baca, followed by Ryan Martin.
I'm not really sure how this process is going, but I-5 is not going to be discussed. It's just going to be voted on. That's kind of goes with what's going on with the whole process of this. I mean, wasn't it known for months that council member for the pertinent district will not be here. This item was put 72 hours ahead without, I don't think that's proper notifications. This is a serious matter to just suddenly pull the rug out of a developer. I mean, I believe he has extra time to produce what needs to be produced. Sounds a little fishy to me. I would consider tabling this or possibly really analyzing how this came about and why this impacts District 5. And I think there's something really wrong with this. I think, I know it sounds hypocritical that the last time this occurred for District 3, which was that project for Highland Fairview, and it was asked that it be tabled until the new council member was seated. So that is hypocritical, so guilty me, I'm a hypocrite. But regardless, this item should be, I encourage you, because I believe this is some type of, I don't want to say it, but it sounds a little corrupt to me. It really should be waited on until the developer concludes. He was in, from what I understand, I asked a few people that he was improperly notified, and the issue was put 72 hours. What was that, Friday? So he had the weekend and yesterday. I don't think that's fair. Don't think that's fair at all. Thank you.
The next two speakers are Ryan Martin, followed by Roy Blackard.
Council members, staff. So Ryan Martin, Lido Capital. We are the owner and the developer of the district. Some of it was mentioned before, but the district includes where you have Sprouts, Floor and Decor, Woodspring Suites Hotel. It's a project that we took over about 5 years ago. Worked in a collaborative way with the city, and then we've worked our tails off to have a lot of success. Just recently opened a 7-Eleven. We do have the Starbucks, WSS. We're going to be adding a Sola Salon, as well as Corey and Bueller, which is a great physical therapy group. And we've got a few others on the way. Quick Quack Car Wash, all of that. Only reason I mention it is just that we have a highly vested interest in the city and seeing the city be successful. Not only have, we brought jobs, the companies have brought jobs, but obviously, great tax base, everything else. All we want is success for the city. We've been toiling now on this Moreno Valley Business Park Project 5. We built the first 4 buildings to great success. It led to all of the revitalization of the retail. We've now been on this, working on this project for over 5 years. Got it entitled originally in 21. We got challenged, and we've been working through it. Unfortunately, there were several items that delayed us. We had a few items that the city didn't include in the record, which really set us back. In addition to that, then we've been going through a process right now, going through the courts. We thought we had an agreement with staff and the city attorney. They're saying that they didn't see eye to eye with us. The big thing for me is I'm all about communication. That's all I do every single day, is communicate with people. And so I'd like to think that I understand what people's thoughts are, that where we have an understanding, where we don't. At this point, it appears we don't have the understanding. I would like to ask for just a continuance to take us out either to April 1st, but more likely April 15th. That will allow us to comply with the writ from the judge. Either way, preferably be the 15th, so that we can actually have another conversation. I would say this, unfortunately, all that we've done, considering in the city, it's been unbelievably difficult to communicate on this project. I have no idea why. I don't know why we can't get together and just figure things out, but it has been insanely difficult. And I guess this is the result of it. I've got the receipt, so to speak, emails, texts, voicemails, all of those things. There's really no, in my opinion, no rhyme or reason for it. Again, considering all that we're doing in the area, and all we want to do is bring more success to the city. So thank you for your consideration.
The next speaker is Roy Blackard.
I hope Mr. Martin has a successful outcome. The district has been an absolutely fantastic project from where that property was. And again, as part of the community, you can see the people in this community and people who've been supported by people on that dais, how they are trying to destroy Moreno Valley by any means possible. And that really needs to stop. But his story, the other part of his story that distresses me is I hear that story multiple times every month. When does it stop? Now, I want to get to I-18, the electric street sweeper at $1 million. Did a little research on that. You know, you can buy a very high-end street sweeper for about $200,000. That means we could have 5 of them. Even 3 under the $600,000 we are kicking in this project, and there is no such thing as a grant or free. If it came from the state, it's all costing us, everyone in this room, $1 million. Where's the study on how much? And I could even buy it if it was in the staff report or we reported, okay, over 5 years of the length of time, you know, it's going to save you half per curb mile of street sweeping, so we'll recover the cost. Are we spending more on this to push somebody's political agenda? This is what gets me and a lot of them and most members I talk to in this community. They hear the story of the speakers that come up here and you just heard them from all walks of life. From everyone who's trying or mostly trying to make this community better. And it seems to be roadblock after roadblock after roadblock. Incompetence after incompetence after incompetence. No accountability, no transparency. Those buzzwords you throw around all the time mean nothing because there's no action behind them most of the time. Because if there was, this place would be bristling like it was 10, 20, 30 years ago. This place would be packed. There would be projects and people wanting to come into this community. Because when we become a city, go look at that date. We had some of the best education and economic demographics in this whole county and state, and we flushed them down the frickin' toilet in 40 years. When do we stop? When do you come together at the table and discuss it? Or do you just want to sit in the ivory tower and say how great I am? One day, I can guarantee you.
Mayor, that concludes all the public comments.
Thank you very much, Madam Clerk. So with that, we'll go ahead and move into any council questions or deliberation before we entertain a motion in a second on approval of the consent calendar. Very briefly, just wanted to comment on 2 items. I-11, wanted to highlight that. That is the city's MOU and continued partnership with Moreno Valley College. This is a very good thing. We've had this partnership with the college for, I want to say maybe 6-7 years now. It's been several years where essentially the city of Moreno Valley commits to assisting Moreno Valley College students to obtain their education, help them pay for their education over at Moreno Valley College, and very happy to see that we're continuing that mission to increase educational attainment, and we're seeing the return on that. All the cohorts that come out of that program, I just love to hear their testimonies and the impact that this has had on their lives, and we're seeing the data and the trends heading in the right direction in the city of Moreno Valley overall. Over the past few years, we've seen consistent increase in educational attainment, more people getting their associate's degrees, more people getting their bachelor degrees, and continuing on to higher paying careers and opportunities. So I just wanted to highlight I-11, and then I-17 on the street sweeper and the grant funding. Wanted to also mention, because it hasn't been mentioned yet, that it's not only the acquisition of an electric street sweeper. There is also a second truck that is part of that as well. So that is all inclusive of this item, and that truck is for the actual trash and debris that is picked up by the street sweeper to be dumped into that second truck. And so, you know, if there's an opportunity to receive $500,000 approximately in grant funds, want to give kudos to staff for finding that opportunity and executing on that. So just wanted to highlight those two items briefly. Are there any further comments or any motions and seconds?
Motion to approve the consent calendar.
I second that.
Okay, there's a motion and a second. Madam Clerk, please call for the vote.
Thank you, Mayor. Councilmember Bernard,
Yes.
Councilmember Gonzalez,
Yes.
Councilmember Delgado,
Yes, ma'am.
and Mayor Cabrera.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you. That passes. And we don't have any items on J, no public hearings this evening. We have one item on K, general business, and that is City Council Advisory Boards and Commissions, and we'll turn it over to our City Clerk for a staff report. City Clerk and City Attorney.
Thank you, Mayor. So the item before you is to go over our newly revised City Council Advisory Boards and Commissions. So we, this is going over the municipal code, which is also known as Title II of the Administration and Personnel, which includes the provisions related to the advisory boards, commissions, and committees. And some of the concerns that we had were the lack of clarity regarding the powers and duties of the advisory bodies. Also, what we noticed were that there were some ambiguities with roles and responsibilities outlined in each board and commission. Currently, our legislative policy is 1.10. It's titled Operating Policy Boards and Commissions and Committees. Again, the concerns were that they were disjointed and conflicting provisions for advisory bodies. There was different languages from the municipal code and the policy. Some of the inconsistencies here are currently in our policy. You will see the vague descriptions of the advisory bodies on what they can and cannot do. The proposed policy will have more specific duties outlined for each commission with no overlap. Again, the appointment and eligibility. Currently, there are inconsistencies with the appointment procedures and eligibility requirements. The proposed one will have the standardized appointment process, eligibility criteria, and term length. And then the third sample is the meeting requirements. For our current one, we have conflicting provisions for meeting schedules and quorums. And the new proposed one will have a uniform rules for the meeting frequency, quorums, and minutes. Again, our proposal is our ordinance is to repeal this what we currently have, which is Title II, related to the advisory bodies, and replace it with the new chapter, which would be Chapter 2.20, known as the City Council Advisory Boards and Commissions. Again, we're going to streamline and unify the provisions. One consistent framework for all advisory boards. So again, they'll have clear roles, powers, and duties defined for each board and commission. The proposed resolution would be to amend the legislative policy that we currently have, still legislative policy 1.10. Again, clarify roles and powers and duties for all boards and commissions. And again, streamline the eligibility and appointment process. Again, clear and consistent meeting procedures and attendance. And the new proposed advisory bodies, their names would be Public Arts Commission, the Environmental and Historical Preservation Commission, the Library Commission, Parks and Community Services and Trails Commission, Senior Citizens Commission, Traffic Safety Commission, and Utilities Commission. Thank you for watching, and that is all for tonight. I'm available for questions.
Thank you very much, Madam Clerk. Are there any questions from the council for staff? Okay, I don't see any questions at this time, so thank you once again, Madam Clerk. We will go ahead and move into public comment. Do we have any requests to speak on this item?
We do, Mayor. The first speaker is Nathan Urena.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, Honorable Council, members of the staff. On our previous meeting of the Environmental Historical Preservation Board on March 10th, the board motioned and adopted to adopt a motto for our board. The motto would state, protect, defend, and promote our heritage through preservation. That was the consented motto, and for that the board voted and approved it on, and they have so kindly allowed me to speak on their behalf. And in that sense, we would like the city council to approve that motion and adopt the motto for our board, and to allow us to use that motto in events and or educational abilities. The main reason to adopt a motto for our board was to streamline our overall mission and purpose of the EHPB, to safeguard our history, our heritage, and overall promote the environmental and sustainable activities that our board is currently working on in progress. And as I've stated, our board has unanimously approved this motto, and we would like it to be brought to the City Council for approval. And secondly, our board is much in favor of this resolution to clarify any information regarding the boards and commissions throughout our city. And they believe that this streamlined effort made by staff will simplify our overall goal and work objective. So I thank you, and I hope that you all enjoy the rest of your evening.
The next speaker is Roy Blecker.
I will remind you of the old adage, if at first you don't succeed, try doing how Roy told you to do it the first time. I didn't bore you with the explaining again for the 942nd time how this should be reformed, but if I'm reading it right, because you were listing the alternates in there, the senior board seemed to be the only one that had a full complement of members and alternates. Each one was lacking in positions up until this point. Whether you get down to the point of extreme efficiency and just all around, we'll get it done, like I've suggested many times up here in doing this, to something in between, I don't see any reforms of that. I mean, it's fine to doing the rules and regulations or whatever that need to be cleaned up, that's fine, but this whole thing needs to be completely redone so it is effective. If you're going to have effective boards, then let's have them. It's just like with the newest one, the Homeless Ad Hoc Committee. Who around this community can be here at 4 o'clock in the afternoon? Well, somebody that's got a vested interest in it will probably make the time. But like you're running the arts and the utility commission at the same darn time. How do you attend 2 meetings at the same time? Do you wonder? I guess you wonder why. Maybe you do. Maybe you can comment on it. Why this again? Why are we sitting here and did we just make this up today so we could actually have an agenda item on here on the general business so we could have something to discuss? And if you were, let's make it where it will be so we have a very efficient way and everybody is informed. If you look back for decades of how I have set out the outline of how to do this, one, it will eliminate the excuses of, well, we didn't know what was going on here. While you're sitting up at the dais on some of your very famous renditions and back and forth. Now, maybe you like looking like that, but I would rather my city look professional, competent, that people want to look at that and say, hey, we want to come in here. Businesses, people, parents want to have their kids educated here. Just throwing it out there. But again, I didn't want to waste everybody's time if it's going nowhere.
Mayor, that concludes public comments on this item.
Thank you very much, Madam Clerk. That brings us to any council deliberation if desired. Is there any request from the dais for any comments, any questions before we entertain a motion and a second? Okay, seeing none, I'm looking for a motion and a second to approve staff's recommendations.
I make a motion to approve staff's recommendations for City Council advisory boards and commissions.
Second.
Okay, there's a motion and a second. Madam Clerk, please call for the vote.
Thank you, Mayor. Councilmember Bernard,
Yes.
Councilmember Gonzalez,
Yes.
Councilmember Delgado,
Yes.
and Mayor Cabrera.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you. Next up, we have item L, which is Regional Commission Committee Board Reports. We do have a couple this evening. We'll go first to the March Joint Powers Commission, and we'll turn it over to Councilmember Delgado.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Tonight I'm providing an update from the March Joint Powers Commission meeting that was held on Wednesday, March 5th. The commission approved a usage-driven site within Foreign Trade Zone number 244 for GPA Logistics Group Incorporated within the city of Paris. Additionally, we approved a minor boundary modification of subzone for Foreign Trade Zone number 244 associated with Skechers USA operations in the city of Moreno Valley. The commission adopted an ordinance updating the JPA's participation in the Western Riverside County Transportation Uniform Mitigation Fee, or TUMF, program, and adopted a resolution amending the applicable Transportation Uniform Mitigation Fee. The commission untabled the Meridian West Upper Plateau project, which will be heard by the commission at a future meeting. And that concludes my update on the last March Joint Powers Commission meeting that was held on Wednesday, March 5th. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember. Next up, we have a report from the Riverside County Transportation Commission. I'll be providing that update this evening. And so this is an update from the RCTC meeting held on March 12th over at the Riverside County Board of Supervisors building. The commission awarded an agreement to Jacob Project Management Company for construction management, material testing, construction surveying, and public outreach services for State Route 60/Potrero Boulevard Interchange Project for a total amount of approximately $9.4 million. The commission heard a presentation on the 24191 Express Connector project. The city of Moreno Valley invited all commissioners to come and enjoy the 2025 March Air Reserve Base, also known as the Southern California Air Show, being held on the March Air Reserve Base in April. And lastly, I also wanted to mention that there will be more information forthcoming, but RCTC does play a role in some of the work that is conducted on our freeways, in our case specifically the 60 and the 215 freeways that border the city of Moreno Valley and actually come through the city of Moreno Valley. And we, the commissioners, do communicate regularly with Caltrans as well, the California Transportation Agency that is primarily responsible for the freeways in the state. And I mention that because, again, we'll have more information, more details to share soon, but there will be work happening, maintenance work that will be taking place for the pavement on the 215 here in the near future over the next few months from Ramona to the south into the city of Paris. If you've driven on that freeway and that part of the freeway, you know that it dramatically needs some maintenance work. So that will be happening, and we'll be sure to share any kind of work schedules, road closures, anything like that with commuters and with the residents so that you can plan accordingly. But it is much needed. And then into the future, over the next year or two, there's also scheduled work to be taking place from Ramona Expressway north to MLK off the 215 heading into the city of Riverside, and even from MLK further west into the city of Riverside as well. So just wanted to give everybody a heads up to keep out for that, keep a lookout for that. And again, we'll make sure to keep you updated so that you're aware of any work that is coming so you can plan your commute accordingly. So with that, that'll conclude my report on the last Riverside County Transportation Commission meeting. And the last report we have for this evening, we'll turn it over to Councilmember Bernard for the Riverside Transit Agency.
Tonight I'm providing updates from the RTA Board Administration and Operations Committee meeting held on March 5th. The committee heard a presentation on the current vehicle transfer policy process and authorized staff to add 3 vehicle transfer applications to the agency's retired vehicle recipient wait list. That concludes my report on the last RTA Board Administration and Operations Committee meeting. Again, I always like to make sure everyone knows children can ride free until June. Please use that grant up. And when I say children, even if you were in high school, as long as you have a high school ID, 18 and under, you can ride for free on the RTA bus. Spring break is right around the corner for many of our children in the 2 school districts out here. So please, 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 parents, if you don't want to take them, you can meet them somewhere at the bus station and drop them off at the bus and they can get around. And that concludes my report.
Thank you, Councilmember. Next, item M, Employee Association reports. We don't have one this evening, which brings us to the legendary City Manager's report.
Thank you, Mayor. Council members, as we do not have Mayor Pro Tem here tonight. The Parks and Community Services Department is ramping up for a lot of events coming up, and it really starts in April. So April 12th, that Saturday from 9 to noon, there's Springtastic at Sunnymead Park. As well as that happens to be the same day as the air show from 9 to 5, as well as the 13th, which is the Sunday, is also the air show. Both days, they're estimating about 400,000 people. So please participate and go to that wonderful event as it is free. On the 19th, the Parks and Community Services is having the adult flashlight egg scramble at 6:30 to 9 p.m. that night. And then, if I'm not mistaken, on the 26th is Earth Day celebration featuring tree giveaway. And that will be at 10 a.m. at our Civic Center Amphitheater. With that, that concludes my comments.
Thank you very much, Mr. City Manager. Next up, closing comments from the council, and we'll go first to District 4, Councilmember Bernard.
Thank you, Mayor. So I wanted to give a special shout out to Jeremy and his team for putting on that adaptive egg hunt. I very much appreciate it. And I know that, as one member of the audience said, it was well received. So thank you guys for having that. And hopefully we can continue that and expand those types of services out to the residents of Moreno Valley. One thing I forgot to mention last time I was here, and I'm looking over at Melissa, we did the groundbreaking for the brand new facility for our Public Works Department. And I apologize because I forgot to talk about it. And for those of you that were not there, because it was just me, Melissa actually got me in one of the trucks. And I was expecting to take a shovel, and Melissa actually had me in the truck scooping up dirt. It was a lot of work. I pray for everyone that was around me. But we did it, we survived, and it was a very good thing, and I'm excited to see that building as it develops. It's a long time coming, 17 years in the making? So I'm very excited about that. And so as I've been closing the last few meetings, I will just continue to close with the same facts that I like to state continuously about the state of the country, because I always believe that we need to close in humanity. The state of California has roughly 39.43 million people in the state of California. Of that, 15 million people receive Medicaid benefits, In the state of California, we call it Medi-Cal because we're fun, but everywhere else it's called Medicaid. There was a cloture bill that has just went through where in order for that bill to be balanced out, they're going to end up having to cut roughly $800 billion. And that means that you're going to see a lot of your neighbors and friends that are probably going to be losing their Medicaid benefits, or they're going to be greatly reduced about what Medicaid pays for. In this district alone, and I say district because when I refer to it, I talk about the congressional district, by all accounts, 1 in 3 members in the district that Congressman Takano represents is a Medicaid recipient. Now, when people hear Medicaid, many people just think it's someone who can't afford health insurance, but it's not just that. We have what we call in-home supportive services. And so a number of people who receive in-home supportive services are on Medicaid, and that Medicaid that they get along with in-home supportive services allows them to have someone to be able to come and take care of them so they don't have to go to out-of-home placement. Not just that, you have children that are on Medicaid whose parents can't go to work because they're high needs, and they use that in-home supportive benefits to help take care of their family as well as their child because they're getting paid to take care of their child who otherwise they would not be able to have in the home with them. So again, I'm going to implore everybody to look at the humanity of what's happening here. I have watched a government fire a number of people, and I'm okay with everyone saying that there's waste and bloat and we have to figure it out. What I'm not okay with is someone taking a hatchet, running through everybody, and then saying, oops, we screwed up. Oops, we messed up, because guess what? All those people already lost their jobs. I'm okay with it as long as we know what the plan is and we're going through it correctly. I'm also here to tell you, as much as I know we all think government should be run like a company with a CEO, unfortunately, there are people attached to that. And they're very much humans. And so when I talk about Medi-Cal benefits being cut, when I talk about SNAP benefits being cut, those are the human costs. I haven't even gotten to Social Security, which they've decided and are going to start working on getting rid of the phone system. Most elderly people that I've dealt with in all of my years of being here don't go into offices if they can't get a ride. They typically like to use the phone to apply for things like Social Security. So when you take that function away, how will they be able to apply for services? So again, I'm going to every week until somebody seems to get it and understand that you are hurting real people, real things are happening. The humanity in all of this is all I'm asking for everyone. We're not a company. We are the United States of America. And we said that we believe that everyone deserves to have a future and everybody holds certain truths to be self-evident. And what I'm seeing happen in this country is a few people deciding for decisions for everybody else. And so when someone tells me when I have these conversations, this is what they voted for, I'm telling you right now, they didn't vote to have their Medi-Cal coverage cut. They didn't vote for their Social Security to be cut. They didn't vote for them to end their SNAP benefits. And I damn sure as a mother with a special needs child didn't vote for the Department of Education to be torn apart, especially by someone whose child has never been educated in the public school system, has never been a part of the public school system, and has no idea what the IDEA Act is. So with that, Mayor, I turn it over and I close for the night. And again, just try to see the humanity in each other. That's all I'm asking.
Thank you, Councilmember. Next up, we will go to District 3, Councilmember Gonzalez.
Thank you, Mayor. Just want to say a few things. Want to thank city staff again for the ongoing training. I completed my department handbooks, and I want to thank, started with our city clerk, Patty, for giving me a rundown of the department and the office. And I know you did the study session, so it mirrored that, but it was a more in-depth analysis. And also, I want to thank Robert Cardenas for going a deep dive into HR and staffing, and it's something that actually interests me, and I'm sure we'll continue those conversations regarding the human resources component of how cities should function and how cities retain good employees and whatnot. I also want to continue thanking the team regarding the CRMs. they're quick to turn things around. I know some things require more analysis and patience, but the outcome is always good and positive. So again, thank you for everything you do, and have a good evening, everyone.
Thank you, Councilmember. Next up, Councilmember Delgado.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So we hired the last 3 vacant crossing guards in the city of Moreno Valley, the last one being in Hidden Springs Elementary School, and then we have 2 at Cloverdale, one on Ironwood and then one down below, so we are complete. And the reason I bring that up is because we lost a crossing guard recently. He passed away, and we filled that immediately at Sugar Hill. But we were able to open them up and get the monies and fill all the vacancies. So in saying that, I always try to stop by and thank them for protecting our children. And I would be remiss in not saying that the teachers that are teaching our kids are doing a great job and teaching them what they need to know to be productive members of society. So thank you for that. And spring break is coming. So please slow down a little bit. The kids are going to be out and about, not only at the schools at certain times of day, but like in the shopping centers and all around. So be on the lookout for that. And then last meeting, I mentioned a Mr. Don that cleans up over there off of Athena or Athens on Ironwood, and he cleans that whole area. Well, today I met with him again, and his last name is Murphy, Don Murphy, and I don't know if the city staff has heard from him because he says he calls all the time. But anyways, he cleaned up from the Day Street underpass all the way up to Ironwood on his own. He just filled up a bag of trash. So thank you, Mr. Don. And then I would like to highlight another member of District 2 that is making a difference, albeit little. She makes a difference, and her name is Sharon Vance. Sharon Vance is on Pigeon Pass, and most of the people in this room that have driven up Pigeon Pass have seen her house. She's the one that decorates for every single holiday throughout the entire year. She's been here for 23 years. Her husband passed away. He was a veteran, and when he passed away, the first year, Veterans Day, she decorated her whole entire house, all USA and veteran, honoring the vets. So she decided that come Christmas, she would decorate, or at Thanksgiving, she would decorate for Thanksgiving, Christmas, and then it just continued. So if you guys ever drove up Pigeon Pass and see the house on the corner there, that's always decorated. That's Sharon's house. And I stop every now and again if she's out with her dogs, and I stop and talk to her and thank her. She says she's received flowers, cards, people stopping by and thanking her for doing what she does. She is a widow, and she lives in that house by herself with her 4 dogs, and she brings smiles to everybody that drives up that street. So thank you, Sharon Vance, for doing what you do. And again, please be kind to one another. I know that, Seth, I'm going to get a smile out of you, sir. There it is. Thank you very much. You sat there very stoic all night, but you did good, sir. Yeah.
By the way, her husband, Warren Vance, I knew him from.
Oh. Yeah, he's currently at the Riverside National, so very good. And thank you for that. I won't be here, so be kind to one another. Thank you, guys. I won't be here the next meeting. I'll be in Washington, D.C., so I'm not asking for an excuse unless you guys want to do whatever, but I'll be in D.C. representing the JPA. So thank you very much. Have a great week, and we'll see you in a month.
Thank you, Councilmember. And just a couple of items here for my closing comments. First, Councilmember Ureña, or Councilmember. See, I'm speaking things into existence, right? Commissioner Ureña, thank you for coming this evening to share your comments, and definitely would invite you to maybe through the commission, right, bring a recommendation officially to the council through a vote of the board or the commission, so that we can consider that here. But I fully support that, unless there's any concerns from staff, which I don't think there should be. I support that. So look forward to seeing that come to our agenda in the future. Also I'm going to actually flip this because I want to end on a positive note. So kind of continuing on some of the comments that have been said already about, you know, the national change in policies and budget conversations and votes happening in the legislature. As has been said, so many of our residents rely on various programs, whether that is the SNAP program or Social Security, that has been paid into by individuals, by residents for decades, for their entire lives. Their hard-earned money that has been paid into the program. And to hear billionaires that were born with silver spoons in their mouths to say that programs like Social Security shouldn't exist and people shouldn't be entitled to those programs that they've paid into for 60, 70, 80 years of their lives, it's just extremely disappointing. And at the end of the day, it's unfortunate that you have these oligarchs, these extremely wealthy billionaires that are making these decisions at the highest level of our government, that have never been in the situations where they had to decide between eating their next meal or paying the rent for their house. It's really unfortunate because it's a lack of understanding, a lack of humanity, a lack of compassion for our fellow human beings, our brothers and sisters. And just take that into consideration, right? Maybe some of us are more privileged now than we were before. Many of us had to pull ourselves up by, you know, the straps of our boots, and some of us didn't have boots and had to work hard to get a pair of boots, right? But no matter how far we make it up the ladder and no matter how successful we are, we always have to remember to reach back down and be willing to pull up others that come after us. And never forget where we came from, the struggles that we had to go through, the opportunities that were presented to us, and not take any of that for granted. So really, really disappointed in the conversation and, you know, the trajectory of the things that are happening in Washington, D.C., the various changes that are being proposed. And I am glad to see the checks and balances working in some cases, with the judiciary stepping up at various levels to try to reel in uncontrolled executive power in the White House. And I hope that that continues. I hope that the checks and balances will continue to work in accordance with our Constitution, and that the people that live in our city, our residents, our family members, our constituents, don't get the public services that they rely on every single day ripped out of their hands, because it's going to be devastating for so many people. So in closing, I said I was going to end on a positive note. Hats off to our staff for the Multicultural and Art Festival. That was a fun time, especially the kids had a really nice time with all the arts and crafts and the various activities that they had there. So good job to Jeremy and the Parks Department. Well done there. And the AR murals as well. That was really fun to actually see it for the first time. And then I wanted to thank and congratulate Robert Garcia Boxing Academy as well. If you had a chance to go or see pictures, it was very well attended. There was thousands of people. I think they said about 8,000 people that attended. They had various news networks that were out there. It was a big, big deal. So I want to thank Robert Garcia himself for really spearheading it. And then, of course, his brother Mikey Garcia, James Vega, Oliver Olivares, who was a contractor for the actual gym, and their entire team for bringing that world-class boxing gym to the city of Moreno Valley. And hopefully that'll open up doors for us in the future with, you know, any opportunities with ESPN through the boxing world, and maybe even opening doors to something like NASCAR, so that we can pay homage to the old racetrack that used to be over at the what is now the Moreno Valley Mall. So with that, just wanted to end on a positive note. A lot of good things happening here in the city of Moreno Valley, and we'll go ahead and adjourn our meeting at 7:10 p.m. Have a good night.